It's day 4 of building my Bootstrap SaaS in public, and today we're going to put everything together to build our landing page. If you don't know me, my name is Sean Boyce, and I've spent years building SaaS businesses in a bootstrapped way as a solo founder. And now I'm building my current one in public so that you can learn from my process to hopefully increase your chances of SaaS success. Subscribe if you don't want to miss a step along the way. So far, we've done the market research and we've done a deep dive into the competitive landscape. Today's focus is going to be putting all that together and creating a landing page. If you're just finding out about this, I'll link to the playlist which has all the previous videos so you can catch up to where we are now. So why are we doing this step now? Well, we've done the market research as well as a deeper dive into the competitive landscape, so we have plenty of context to be able to putting landing page together. And we need that landing page to be able to market our SaaS as a solution to the problems experienced by those law firms related to billing. And then the third and most important component is we really need something to be able to validate the size of this opportunity or measure what I refer to as problem solution fit. Now we're going to use AI to use it to help us with the research, to provide both the copy and influence over the design for the landing page, as I like to leverage a template that I've created and found that works well for SaaS landing pages. And then that's going to be used as an input to use another AI tool to help us with actually building the landing page. Okay, we're ready to leverage AI to help us with creating everything we need to build that landing page. I've got my prompt queued up here and I'm going to break it down for you so you know what's included. And again, I've added all these resources to a template version that you can use for building your own SaaS. So sign up in the link in the description below to gain access to that for your project. But what we see here is what I'm telling it to do is gather all the context from everything we've done already and then leverage it in a couple of different ways to produce everything from that copy to the design we need to build the landing page. So I've also given it instructions related to a design that I like to use that works particularly well as I'm looking to build a marketing site to be able to explain to my target market how my SaaS solution solves their specific problem. And the sections that I'm recommending that it leverages in terms of creating this for me are as follows. The first is what I refer to as the pain, and those are the frustrating elements of the target market's problem. The second is the dream, and this is a scenario I want them thinking about in terms of what their life would be like if we could simply just make this problem go away for them. So it's the vision and the world they want to live in, which our SaaS product ideally can help them get to. The third component is what I refer to as fix, and that is how we're intending to actually do that a little bit more technically. And this is to kind of give them an idea that we can actually solve this problem for them and then make that dream real. Rounding out the rest of the sections, the next is what I refer to as social proof. And this is basically like if we were to have quotes of active users using this product and it enabled this for them, it took their problem and made it go away and it enables them to live now in that dream scenario, what would they say about our product? Now, for this section, which is a little bit of a gray area, this is technically mock data. And I set this up because this is an important element for people understanding, what their life might be like to better understand how other people have leveraged this. Now this is, I change the names and things like that, but this is real data. This is real data that's come from the interviews that I've done. So I've had the interviews with folks and they've described for me basically what they would say about a product like that, assuming it could do these things for them. So these are actually real quotes, but they haven't actually used the product yet. So that's why I changed the names and things like that until I get to a point where they have used it and it's provided them with value. Then I would replace it within potentially that, their actual name to the level that they are comfortable with. But that's how I design the section for now. The next two, kind of rounding out the page, is pricing, what it's going to cost me to gain access to this solution, and kind of an FAQ. So it's basically question and answer design. And what this is I refer to this as objection handling. So in the research that we've done, where people might get stuck or where they may be worried about something in terms of how we do it or don't do it, I provide context for them for that right away. So if they're thinking like, this sounds too good to be true, what about this? What about security? What about that? This is the section that I will add information like that so that they have a better idea how we may be handling for those things. And then hopefully that helps them get over those objections and then take the next step, which is filling out like a lead capture or just kind of going right into the product. Then the last component in terms of this prompt that I've added, and I've got some ideas of how I might want to do this already, but is helping me with kind of quote unquote naming, like give me an idea in terms of what you think that may be on brand and thematic for what we might call this thing. And then the last piece that I'll add as well too is I've also given it some indication of what I might want to do technically in terms of bringing the solution to market, in terms of how it might work. Based on the research that I've done, I think probably two good places where we'll likely start on the technical side. Now, this is early. We're going to do this as part of a next step, but I want to include this in the landing page, is looking to try to integrate as best as possible with the law firms and the lawyers' email platforms and note takers that they're using for their meetings. I think there's two great places to gather context for our SaaS solution to actually do the technical work. And I've done some basic research thus far just to know that I can gain access to pretty much all that data via API. So I don't really have any reservations yet about building that, as well as marketing it in terms of our page here as well too. Okay, so I'm going to kick off this command. We'll let it run, we'll let it do its thing, and then I'm going to fast forward to the section so you don't have to wait for the AI to finish. Once it is done, we'll come back and we'll review the results. All right, so the AI is finished, and again, it produced a crazy amount of value in a very short period of time, so I cannot encourage you guys enough to leverage these tools for these reasons. But let's take a look at what it produced. So over on the left-hand side, as usual, it's kind of got a summary of what it did, and it produced everything that I'm looking for, and we'll kind of review that here quickly and then move on to building the landing page. But talked about the pain points and everything like that, and it organized everything that I needed into those sections, including coming up with some names, and I like these names. One in particular I'm going to call attention to is Unbuild. That one is, what I like about Unbuild is I think it could create an emotional reaction, which is pulling on that frustration and the pain element, as opposed to marketing it like the solution. It markets it around the problem, which is really interesting. I haven't actually named a SaaS product like that, but I might in this case. It's going to depend on what the availability of some of these domain names look like, but I like where it's going. And on the right hand side, it's got all the details, as you can imagine. So I've moved me over to the left so you can see all of this context, but this is what I'm going to use to provide all the context I feel like Lovable could possibly ever need to create me an excellent landing page. So it's got all the context, it's got everything that I want in those sections following my format, including the kind of the hero, which is usually that section at the top, the pain, and a couple of ways that it might decide to go there in terms of how to ultimately write the copy. The dream section, which again talks about the world that they want to live in, if this pain essentially goes away, and our product can help them with doing that. The fix, which I often like to break down into, and you can see it's done that here, a 3-step process. That's a pretty common design pattern that you'll see on a lot of SaaS pages, and I find that that works pretty well for marketing your solution and helping people understand how it works. Breaking things down into 3-step processes just fairly common in general. So if we leverage that, we may be able to take advantage of how people think about these things. Social proof, it's taking the context from the interviews that I've had, and it's written those as though the people that I've had interviews with who are looking for this solution to the problems they're experiencing here had already used it. What would they likely have to say about it? Which should give other folks who find our page an idea for what our product theoretically may be able to do for them. That should help. That always builds trust. And then pricing section, what we plan to charge. I've picked some pricing already based on what I've seen in the competitive market. I'm not going the lowest, but I'm not going the enterprise direction either. I probably am thinking about testing this thing kind of lower to mid-market, and then we'll reevaluate from there. But a lot of this stuff is T&E, as I like to call it, trial and error. So you kind of start somewhere and then you iterate from there. So that's there. I've also got an objection handling question and answer section, which is great. That really is helpful. And we can use analytics, which I'll show you how to add as part of this process as well too. But to better see like where people are going on a landing page, are they getting stuck somewhere, what information they're viewing, all that kind of good stuff. More names, which is great. That's going to be additional homework for me. And then design elements related to color palette and look and feel and all kinds of good stuff. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this output and I'm going to provide that directly to Lovable to build a landing page next. So let's build our landing page. And as I mentioned, basically I'm just going to take the output from what Claude produced and I'm going to input that into Lovable in order to create the landing page. So make a convenient option. It couldn't be easier. You just come over here and click copy, and that'll copy everything that it produced in the form of output from the previous step. And then I'm going to go over to Lovable.dev. If you're unfamiliar with this tool, I get a lot of value out of it. And in particular, what I like most about Lovable is usually it creates a pretty good design, but it's really the speed. It creates these landing pages so quickly. They look good, it creates them quickly, and we can continue to iterate with them using natural language. So all I'm going to do literally is just paste that full window, that full output context from Claude into Lovable, kick it off and let it do its thing. And I'll fast forward through this as well too, so that you don't need to wait around, and then we'll just review what it produces as a result. All right, let's take a look and see what Lovable produced for us. So if you're unfamiliar with Lovable, the way this interface works on the left-hand side, you've got basically your chat history and your ability to interact with it in natural language, and then it gives you updates in terms of like what it's doing along the way. On the right-hand side is whatever it produced, which in this case is our landing page. Let's take a look at what it made. Right away, up top, we can see our hero section, and I like the way it's designed some of this. Immediately, kind of the look and feel. The color scheme, blue is one that kind of is supposed to instill trust and things like that. So that's pretty common in the professional services space, but it's got a little bit of an edge to it as well too by leveraging on and kind of layering in the gold elements. But at the top here, it creates kind of the type of vision that I'm looking for. I might pull back a little bit on the wording, and I would probably do other things here as well too. This is a little bit nitpicky, but you can see how these buttons are a little bit interactive, and I like that. I do like the fact that it's mostly focused on the kind of the action that I want it to take, and it's got this secondary element, which should jump me down to this the how it works section. But got some stats that it's throwing at people as well too, which is gathered from the context of the research we did, which is great. Come down below that, I love the headline in this dream section, which is what if your time tracked itself? That's really cool. I got to give it credit for that. I like the way that it wrote that, and I like the way it focuses on it. I think that's going to create the type of reaction that I'm looking for in our target market. And it goes down and it adds to that story in terms of how we get there. Underneath that, we can kind of get into the how it works section, or the fix as I like to refer to it. We've got our 3-step process here for it to describe basically from a technical perspective, how is this stuff expected to work? And it reinforces a lot of trust with some of the things that it's addressing here as well too. There's a technical section here, and I'll probably make some changes to this. The reason why I mentioned in my previous step that I was thinking of going both email and like meeting note takers and things like that is because I think that those are probably two good input sources for what we're going to do technically. Probably not going to build integrations to all these right out of the gate, so I might pull back on this section a little bit or leave it, not sure yet, but that's kind of an idea. Down below, we've got the kind of social proof section. I like the way this is written, the style that it's written in, and who it is saying that it's kind of capturing the spirit from, because that's our target market, right? And we want them to understand that. Come down a little bit further into the pricing section. Did a good job here as well too. And Lovable will add these kind of interactive elements here. So you can see as I flip this button from monthly to annual, it will update the screen here. But what I might do instead is separate these out so that they're both on the page at the same time. Not sure yet, but either way, this still looks pretty good. And then down below, we've got that objection handling Q&A section. So here you've got common questions, again, that it pulled from the research, as well as some justification behind those or some answers for folks, and then a lead capture at the end. So, again, this took 5, maybe 10 minutes tops. And everything I used pretty much AI for worked really well. The landing page is basically kind of ready to go. Like I'll workshop this a little bit further and fine tune it, but for the most part, I've got my landing page up now by, what is this, day 4 or whatever. That's pretty remarkable in terms of how quickly we are making progress here in building our SaaS. Okay, so that's it for this video. We produced our landing page from all the context and the research that we've done thus far using Lovable. We've even come up with some name ideas. So next steps for me are to kind of work that landing page a little bit further, refine it to a certain extent, and then find a name and get this page online. Beyond that, we're going to focus on the technical elements next. So that'll be solution design stuff. We're going to be focusing on everything we need to do technically to bring version 1 online and then start getting this product in the hands of our target market folks. And as I mentioned previously, I've created templates for everything that I'm doing here and then you're watching me do as I'm building this SaaS in public. So check out the link in the description below if you'd like access to those templates so that you can follow along my process using all these prompts and tools to make the same type of progress for you and your SaaS project.